Hello whoever is watching, my name's Virginia and today I thought it would be fun to show you my book collection. So in no particular order, I'm just going to go through and show you the books that I've read. There are a couple of them I haven't read yet because they take a little bit longer. But as you can see, I kind of have them color coordinated right now. My idea is to move them from this bookshelf to my TV stand kind of. So this book's from university. It's just a literature book. It's got a bunch of different readings by different philosophers and literary writers like Virginia Woolf, Franz Kafka, don't know that person. Thomas Mann is in here. University book, very boring. This book is called How to Love. I read this when I was a teenager. I think it's more teenager, young adult. Oh wow, it's dusty. Basically, it tells the story of this girl before she met this guy and after she met this guy, and the way that the chapters are set up, it's like before and then after, before and then after. It tells the story of how she was in love with this guy and then he disappeared, but she had gotten pregnant, and then the story goes from there and we kind of see how life unfolds after that life event for her. So I do like that book. The Song of Achilles is such a great book. It's a classic. It's not really a classic, but it's a classic if you know what I mean. It's basically just a really good book. If you like Greek mythology, you'll probably like this book. It is a little bit more on the LGBTQ side, which is really great. And I just really enjoyed this. I actually enjoyed this so much that I got the second book by Madeline Miller, and we'll go through that in a minute. This is called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. This is not a very good book. It's about borderline personality disorder, which I do have, so I did read this, and this kind of just paints us all as villains. Not the best book, but I did read it. All the Light We Cannot See is a really, really, really good book. I read it a few years ago. I will say that it was kind of slow up until here. It is a film now. The film was really good, but if you're like me, you might enjoy the book better. It is about this girl. She is blind and her father live together. It takes place, the setting is somewhere in Europe. I want to say France during World War II. So the girl, her name is it Marie? Yeah, Marie Laure. Marie goes blind. Her dad is an architect. He makes a scaled down version of the city that they live in so she can kind of feel and learn her way around the city during the war. There is the plot that the German army is looking for this prized jewel or something that Marie's dad hid, but Marie has no idea where it is. Her dad's gone missing, and the army basically thinks that Marie knows where it is, so the movie is like a hunt to find Marie. And then there's also from Marie's point of view and also somebody from the German army's point of view as well. So that's a really, really good book. This is Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time. It is about basically everything from, like it says, the Big Bang Theory to black holes. It kind of goes over who we are, how we got here, and all of his kind of theories on that. And I also have the Brief Answers to Big Questions by Stephen Hawking. I did not read either of these. I actually gave them to my dad. He read them, he loved them, and he gave them back to me and told me to read them, and here we are. Maybe I'm gonna put these on my 2024 bucket list, so please hold me accountable. The Midnight Library. The Midnight Library is a book that you may have seen on booktok. It is about this girl who tries to take her own life. She ends up in this library where every book has kind of a different outcome. For every decision that she made throughout her life, it would have led her down a different path, and all these books are those different paths. So she kind of spends the whole evening in the library going through all of these books of what could have been, and kind of showing her to be more grateful for the life that she did have while she had it, I guess. It's a very good book. Miracle Morning This is just about how to have a good day. I haven't read this because I feel like it's gonna try to get me to get up early, which is why I got it. I do want to have productive mornings. Let's just make a pile of books that I need to read in 2024, and we're gonna put this one in there because I would love to be more productive this year. The Thief Lord is a very good book. This is also more on the tween teen side, and I read it when I was younger. It is about these two orphan kids who decide to run away to Venice because their mother always told them Venice is magical. While they're there, they kind of run into sort of like a Robin Hood situation where there's this other band of outcast children and they all kind of thieve together. You should definitely look into this. Look up the movie, it's really good too. Mitch Albom is one of my favorite authors. This is called For One More Day, and Mitch Albom makes me cry every single time that I read it. I've read this a couple times and I started reading it again last year. It explores the question, what would you do if you could spend one more day with a lost loved one? And this really, really touched me because I've lost many loved ones in my life. So every single time I read this, I break down like a baby, but in a good way. It's a really, really, really good book. Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Clearly I haven't read this, but I think we all know what Marie Kondo's all about. I read this book when I was in university. It's articulating design decisions, and it basically just kind of goes through the whole hierarchy of design and kind of helps you decide what the best way to make your decisions are. You can see I highlighted a ton of it. This book helped me a lot in university, and I actually liked it enough that I kept it. Game of Thrones. First book, really good. I got past halfway down the second book. The thing is with these books, they're very good, they're very detailed, they're very long, and they're a little bit hard to read sometimes. I did watch the show before I read the books just because I wanted to be able to picture the characters in my mind when I'm reading it, but then again, when I'm reading it, I always have to look up who's who because there's so many names and there's so many characters that I keep forgetting like which one's which. But very good series. Hopefully I'll finish reading it. Maybe I'll put this on my 2024 list as well. Dear John, I've had this since probably 8th grade. I've read this front to back a million times. This is the story of a girl who goes on vacation to her summer house. She meets John, who is in the military. For 2 weeks, they spend every second together, they fall in love, he goes away, and then it just kind of discusses the story of them writing their letters back and forth to each other. Every letter from the girl titled or starting with Dear John. Very good book. I love this book. This is a book that I started about a month ago. I really haven't read a lot of it, but it is another historical fiction book, kind of similar to The Song of Achilles, but this one is called The City of Brass. It is a story of this girl growing up in Egypt, so she's basically a really good con woman. It's magic, but she doesn't believe in magic. She's basically doing these magical like healings and spiritual teachings, and she thinks that they're tricks and that she's just a con woman to all these tourists and whoever it is that stops at her booth. And basically where I've gotten to in the book is that she accidentally summons some sort of like demon ghost or something because she's messing around with all these spells, and it's just really interesting. I've really got to finish this. Circe is another Madeline Miller book. She's the one who wrote The Song of Achilles. Circe is another kind of Greek goddess. This one, I believe she's seen as sort of a witch, and I think she's the son of Helios, or she's the daughter of Helios. She's the daughter of the sun god. Circe is a triumph of storytelling and an intoxicating epic of family rivalry, palace intrigue, love, and loss, as well as celebration of indomitable female in a man's world. Many famous figures throughout Greek mythology visit her on this island, just through passing. Yeah, if you like the Song of Achilles, if you like Greek mythology, I definitely recommend this book. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is a very good book. This book is about a girl who has 7 freckles on her face that kind of draw up this constellation. This takes place in France in 1714. A young woman named Adeline, she meets a dangerous stranger and she makes a terrible mistake. She wishes from this stranger that she could live forever without anybody remembering who she is. Basically, Addie LaRue, she gets to live all these lives. She never ages, she always looks the exact same, and every person she meets doesn't remember who she is. So that's how she's able to live forever and get through all of these different like phases of life, and nobody ever notices like, hey, I know you haven't aged one bit, any of that. So her dream to live forever quickly becomes a curse because she isn't able to make any friendships or have any relationships with anybody. But it's really fun because since she's kind of like old in a sense, throughout history and art, you can see Addie kind of show up in different famous paintings, or they kind of portray it as her showing up in different famous paintings and readings. So for example, this one, 1703, it's supposed to be of this girl, and supposedly it was of Addie, which in real life it's obviously not, but in the book it's really fun how they kind of connect the dots through art to try to make it seem like she's been around for a really long time. And if you like art, if you like mystery, if you like magic, I really love this book. I would definitely recommend you read this book before they turn it into a motion picture or a movie, because then you'll have all the details that the people who see it in theaters want. Oh my god, this is a good book. I can't tell you how many times this book made me cry. This book has maps of what Auschwitz looked like and everything. I believe this is based on a true story. Every prisoner who goes to Auschwitz got one of these serial number tattoos, just dehumanizing them, taking away their name. The person who had to do these tattoos to the prisoners was actually one of the other prisoners. So this book is the story of the prisoner that they made tattoo all of the other prisoners, and it's a love story, it's a story of loss, it's a story of heartbreak, it's a story of grief, it's a story of triumph, it's everything, and I love this book. I love this book. It's really like, it's everything. Like I said, it's everything. If I could erase my memory and read it again, I would. Controversial. So I read this when I was younger. This is the story of Tiger Lily. If you don't know who Tiger Lily is, basically in Peter Pan, there is an indigenous community where Tiger Lily lives, and I believe that she is the one who gets kidnapped by Captain Hook. This book takes place prior to that. This is before Peter Pan met Wendy. This is when Peter met Tiger Lily. It is a little bit tone deaf in some regards to indigenous communities. I liked it for the whole kind of flip side to Peter Pan kind of story. Let me just read you a little bit of this. Before Peter Pan belonged to Wendy, he belonged to the girl with the crow feather in her hair. 15-year-old Tiger Lily doesn't believe in love stories or happy endings. Then she meets the alluring teenage Peter Pan in the forbidden woods of Neverland and immediately falls under his spell. Peter is unlike anyone she's ever known. He scares and enthralls her. He's the leader of the Lost Boys and the most fearsome of Neverland's inhabitants. Peter is an unthinkable match for Tiger Lily. Soon she's risking everything, her family, her future, to be with him. When she's faced with marriage to a terrible man and her own child, she must choose between the life she's always known and running away to an uncertain future with Peter. With enemies threatening to tear them apart, they seem doomed. It's the arrival of Wendy Darling, an English girl who's everything Tiger Lily is not, that leads Tiger Lily to discover the most dangerous enemies can live inside even the most loyal and loving heart. It does kind of have a little bit of prejudice, microaggressions. Let's just put it over here. I'm not gonna say anything. Piranesi. I loved this book. you're probably gathering that I like a little bit of like dystopian fiction, historical fiction, I don't know. Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless. Its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves thunder up staircases. Rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the pattern of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house. There is one other person in the house, a man called the Other, who visits Piranesi twice a week and asks for help with research into a great and secret knowledge. But as Piranesi explores, evidence emerges of another person, and a terrible truth begins to unravel, revealing a world beyond the one that Piranesi has always known. To summarize what I just read to you, Piranesi is in this ginormous house. It's his house. Infinite walls, there's no escape, there's an ocean in there. Some random person called the Other visits him twice a week to try to ask him like, hey, can you help me research for this like great mysterious secret? So as Piranesi's doing this research, he discovers like, wait, it's not just me and the Other in here, there's somebody else here. So it's kind of like a mystery, and it's kind of scary, and it's like a little bit spooky, but like it's really good. I really like it, so you should definitely check it out. Madeline Miller, the one who wrote Circe and the Song of Achilles, she actually wrote something about this book. It says on the back, says that it astonished her. It's a luminous feat of storytelling. It's a gripping mystery, an adventure through a fantasy world, deep meditation on human condition, feeling lost and being found. And she said that she already wants to be in its haunting and beautiful halls. So this is a really good book if you enjoy mystery, haunting, magic. Race, Media, and the Crisis of Civil Society, another book that I read in university. It kind of discusses the way that media portrays race and different societies, cultures within societies, or societies within, I don't know, civilization. This is a really good book. It's very eye-opening. It's more so on the literary side. If you like reading about the way that the media influences society and the 21st century, I would definitely recommend this book. It goes over different kind of historical uprisings. It goes over the Rodney King beating. It goes over a lot of different stuff about how media impacts these problems, or how we can try to use media to address it. I am not religious. If anything, I believe that all religions exist. That sounds weird, but if anything, I do truly believe that all religions exist. If it's real for you, it's real for you. Who am I to tell you that it's not? So this book, Heaven is for Real, I read when I was in grade 12. Oh my god, 10 years. I read this 10 years ago. If you don't know this story, if you don't know the movie, it's basically about this kid who has a near-death experience and how he kind of saw Jesus and how it kind of brought him back. It's stories like this that, like, I can't tell somebody that it doesn't exist. I literally know nothing, but if you like heartwarming, touching stories that might make you cry, if you're religious, you might like this. Even if you're not religious, you might think like me, like, wow, that's really interesting to learn about, that other people kind of have these experiences. It has even images and pictures in it. It's really, really crazy. I did like this. Okay, moving along to some self-help. This is called The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. This basically kind of goes over how whatever path you were meant to take, you will eventually land on it because the universe has a plan for you. If you like self-help, you will probably like this. It kind of helps you, it brings a sense of security or calmness kind of when you're floating through life and you feel like you don't know what's going on. This book's kind of there to remind you that, in my opinion, that the universe has bigger plans for you, so try not to worry about things too much, because things will fall the way they're supposed to. Unfuck Yourself, another self-help book, helps more with kind of anxiety, and it kind of goes with this one as well. This one kind of helps you break down those difficult thinking patterns that you might have and kind of help you restructure it. Honestly, I don't remember a ton from this book. I did lend it to one of my friends and he liked it. So these two books are more of a preteen, young adult kind of style book. I did enjoy these though. This is about a girl who gets into a car accident with her whole entire family, and I believe both of her parents and maybe her little brother, I'm not sure, but both of her parents for sure die. And throughout the book, it's basically she is in a coma, but she's still able to like observe what's going along. She's still able to observe what's going on around her. So throughout this novel, she's trying to decide basically if she's going to stay in the real world without her family, or if she wants to pass on and leave everything behind. And then the following book kind of explains what she decided at the end of this one and how it impacts her life. So if you like these books, go ahead and read them. This is another self-help book, kind of helping you hone in on your creativity. If you are passionate about something and you need a little bit of motivation or something to like keep encouraging you or like showing you how others kind of made the most of it, like I would definitely recommend this book. These two are just some cute little like meditative books that I have. Invitation to Meditation and The Little Book of Quiet. Super Intelligence, another design, artificial intelligence kind of book from university. I definitely like this book. It kind of goes over like all the implications of superintelligence, all the changes that are coming up, and kind of educating you on like quality and all that kind of stuff. Brain-computer interfaces, what would it take to recalculate evolution, pass to superintelligence. Some of my stuff's nerdy, and I'm sorry. Nerdy design and computer science stuff, sorry. Another good book. So I just went on and on and on and on and on about the tattooist of Auschwitz. One side plot or kind of supporting story from the tattooist of Auschwitz is about this woman named Silke. I believe these are based on true stories, but I can't like remember. Yeah, an incredible true story. Okay, so Silke is one of the women who works in the administration office with Gita from the first story, and I believe they become like best friends. And this one kind of goes over Silke's story and how she was forced to be with one of the Nazi army generals, and how she survived that, and then how she eventually made it back home. Love and Rage, I also have not read yet. I'm gonna put this on my list of 2024. This is a book that I need to read this year. This is a collection of essays by this woman named Marina Keegan. It is called The Opposite of Loneliness. That was her, I believe, Harvard essay. I think she went to Harvard. She went to Harvard or Yale? Yale. So she went to Yale, and then I believe 2 days after or 2 days prior to graduating, she got in an accident and died or passed. But these are her essays from when she was a student, and they're really, really good. Like her title essay captures the hope, uncertainty, and possibility of her generation. The Opposite of Loneliness is an assemblage of Marina's essays and stories that, like the last lecture, articulates the universal struggle that all of us face as we figure out what we aspire to be and how we can harness our talents to make an impact of the world. Definitely recommend that. If you like the last lecture, you'll probably like this book. American Dirt is a really good book. This is a story of a woman, Lydia, who her husband is a reporter. They live in Mexico and they have a small son. Her husband, journalist, her husband put into the newspaper something about like a news piece on the gang activity going on in, I think, Mexico City. As a result of that, this gang actually ends up killing Lydia's husband, who wrote the news article, and Lydia and her son end up fleeing Mexico to run away from the cartel. And this book is the story of how Lydia and her son escape the cartel, run from them, and cross the border into America. So this is a really good book. It really puts into perspective the things that people in Mexico may be dealing with and why they do come to or go to the States so often. And it's just a really good book to kind of see things from the other side of the wall, if you will. Sapiens is a really good book. My boyfriend was pretending to read it, but I've read the whole thing. It's brief history of humankind. It goes over how we biologically and scientifically kind of came from Neanderthals to where we are now, how we're all connected, how we're all the same, and it even kind of explores superhumans, where we could be years from now. If you like science, if you like learning about evolution, if you like human species, if you like learning, I definitely recommend this book. Atomic Habits. This is a book that helps you learn how you can take your goals and break them down into smaller habits, so that eventually over time you just naturally do what it is that you've been trying to do. Chapter summary. It has some exercise in it. It's got some charts. It's got a lot of valuable information in it. So if you're planning on changing your habits in 2024, Atomic Habits can really help you do that. This is a really good book. The story, The Diary of Anne Frank. As you probably know, Anne Frank was I want to say 12 or 13-year-old girl during the time of World War II, when she was hiding in her parents' store attic. This is the diary that she kept while she was going through that. It is addressed to Kitty, because Kitty is what she called her diary. Is kind of like her friend. So Anne took diary notes every single day, or almost every single day, of what was going on during that time for her, and it really kind of puts into perspective what it must have been like for Jewish and other communities who were being treated like that or being imprisoned during World War II. So The Diary of a Young Girl is a very, very good book if you're into World War II like I am, or if you even want to just know about like basic human experience. So Tuesdays with Maury. So basically he sees his professor on TV, and he decides that every single Tuesday he's going to visit his old professor again, because his old professor has been diagnosed with ALS, and this kind of goes through that experience. This is another young adult book. It's called Love by the Book. It is about this woman who has had difficulties with love, and I believe she's in her 20s or 30s at this point. So she decides that every month or so she's going to read a different love book or love guide, and she's going to try to follow that and just follow those rules and see which version of love, which book has the best recommendations for her to try to find love. So this is a really fun book as well. So this is the book about a woman named Cheryl who I believe it's based on a true story. She loses her mother, she gets a divorce at, I believe, the ripe age of like 22, so she's really young, and she decides that she's going to do the trail that starts, where does it start? The Pacific Crest Trail from the Mojave Desert all the way to Washington State. So she goes all the way up the Pacific coast on this trail, and this book is detailing her experiences on the trail, the pain she goes through with her boots, with the eating, with the bobcats, with everything, and also goes through like her mental struggles of being on this trail, or even like experiencing the life that she's having. And it's just a really great book. The subline here is from Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail. This made me want to go hiking. This is kind of like a dystopian spin on The Wizard of Oz. It is about basically this girl lands in Oz, but instead of it being all happy and exciting, she learns that Dorothy is actually like drunk with power from her slippers, so it's this girl's job to kind of take down Dorothy because she's making life hell for everybody. The inside says, I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to be some kind of hero. But when your whole life gets swept up by a tornado, taking you with it, you have no choice but to go along, you know? Sure, I've read the books, I've seen the movies, I know the song about the rainbow and the happy little bluebirds, but I've never expected Oz to look like this. To be a place where good witches can't be trusted, wicked witches may just be the good guys, and winged monkeys can be executed for acts of rebellion. And there's still a yellow brick road, but even that's crumbling. What happened to Dorothy? They say she found a way to come back to Oz. They say she seized power, and the power went to her head, and now no one is safe. My name is Amy, and I'm the other girl from Kansas. I've been recruited by the Revolutionary Order of the Wicked. I've been trained to fight, and I have a mission. This was a really fun book for me, honestly. Like, I remember reading it like 6 or 7 years ago, and I was just turning the pages. I need to know what's going to happen. Like, I would stay up into the middle of the night to read this. I would miss dinner being like, no, I need to read the next chapter, because every single chapter ended with the best cliffhanger. I had to keep going. Furiously Happy is about finding ways to look at anxiety and OCD with a little bit of humor, with a little bit of light, with a little bit of happiness. This is another self-help book, but it kind of puts more of a fun millennial spin on it rather than, oh, you have this problem, here's how you solve it. This kind of teaches you more so how to live with it, how to enjoy it, how to like have fun with it. I know mental health isn't something that you have fun with, but this kind of, it's a funny book about horrible things, we'll put it that way, and it's a good book, I believe. If you struggle with mental health, this could really help you put a happier spin on it and show you how to enjoy the littler things that make you who you are. A Mind Spread Out on the Ground is a bold and profound meditation on trauma, legacy, oppression, and racism in North America. It is by a Haudenosaunee writer, Alicia Elliott. In an urgent and visceral work that asks essential questions about the treatment of Native people in North America while drawing on intimate details of her own life and experience with intergenerational trauma, Alice Elliott offers indispensable insight into the ongoing legacy of colonialism. She engages in such wide-ranging topics as race, parenthood, love, mental illness, poverty, sexual assault, gentrification, writing and representation. In the process makes connection both large and small between the past and the present, the personal and the political, from overcoming a years-long battle with head lice to the way Native writers are treated within the Canadian literary industry, her unplanned teenage pregnancy to the history of dark matter and how it relates to racism in the court system, her childhood diet of craft dinner, and how systemic oppression is directly linked to the health problems in Native communities. My mother was actually part Indigenous, so reading about Indigenous history really helps me connect to my roots and helps me educate myself on what's actually happened to my ancestors. So I really enjoy reading things like this, and my boyfriend got me another book that is on my list for 2024. This is another Indigenous book. This is called Truth Telling. It's 7 conversations about Indigenous life in Canada, a bold and provocative collection of essays exploring the historical and contemporary Indigenous experience in Canada. So these 2 books, this one I would definitely recommend because I have read it. This one I haven't read yet, but I feel like I'll probably like. These 2 books are really near and dear to my heart because they do help me connect with my mother and her ancestors a lot better. So this truth-telling one is going to the pile for 2024. Shifting gears a little bit from the Egyptian and Greek and North American stories, this is the henna artist. This is the story of a woman in Jaipur, India. She is not the most wealthy. She's more so of a lower caste, and Her talent is she does the most beautiful henna in all of Jaipur. The people, the rich people, the brides, the royal families, everybody always want her henna. So by being such a great henna artist, she begins to hear all of the gossip that goes on within these royal families, and she kind of uses that to her advantage to kind of move up in the ranks and become a lot more wealthy and kind of succeed. I love reading about different cultures, so this was amazing. If you like Indian culture, if you like henna, if you like gossip, if you like wealth, if you like women, if you like empowerment, check it out. This is another boring literary book. I guess I could have ended on something more exciting, but not bad. Okay, this is another literary book. It's the Norton Anthology, World Literature, Volume D. So this has Chinese literature in it. Voltaire is in it. Late Ming Dynasty literature. Alexander Pope, his stories are in here. I think I gave the one that has Metamorphosis in it to my brother, but here's the other literary book that I have, and then this one is Bill Wasick. Yeah, Bill Wasick. This is, and then there's this. This is a book that I read in, I think, first year of university. If you don't know, I went to university for media studies and I minored in computer science, so it's very media and technology and design and digital forward. So there was a lot of like theory and also practice that went into my schooling. So this book says that every day we are distracted by a culture that rings our doorbell and runs away. Stories spread wildly and die out in days, only to be replaced by, you know what, I actually read The Circle too, but I don't have The Circle here. I gave that to my brother, but the Tom Hanks movie is not as good as the book. The Circle, the book, much better. And then there's this, is journalist and new media provocateur Bill Wasick's journey into the unexplored frontier of returning and rambunctious viral culture. Part field report, part memoir, part manifesto, part deconstruction of a decade. It reveals how culture is now created from the ground up, enabling anyone with a computer to set a small ripple of a story that can turn into a tsunami. An entertaining and eye-popping look at the new frontier of idea making. Wasick brilliantly captures the dizzying ways technology is transforming our culture. So this book may be a little bit dated now. There is probably an updated version, or hopefully like a 2023 or 2024 like AI movement version, but this really helps you understand like the basics of the hierarchy that goes into it, how things have changed, nanopolitics, the politics of the internet. There's a bunch of theories and stuff that doesn't make sense unless you read about it. So if you're interested in reading about it, I would definitely check out. And then there's this by Bill Wasick. If you want to have your heart broken, read this one. Honestly, for one more day, I think this one's my favorite book ever. Okay, I'm going to move all these books over to my bookshelf or my media stand now. If you watched this whole thing, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you like them, if you hate them, if you're going to read any of them. If you stay to the end of this, comment down below what your New Year's resolution is. I would love to know. My New Year's resolutions are to just treat my body better, be healthier, I want to be happier, and I would also love to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube this year. So if you don't mind subscribing, that'd be amazing. And I also really need advice on what I should even be posting on YouTube. So leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see from me, and I'll do my best to make that content for you this year. So I hope everybody has a great 2024. I hope you had great holidays, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks!